Evening and welcome to the Charter Township of Elmwood Planning Commission special meeting convened on Tuesday, December 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Carrie, would you please call the roll?
Jonah Kuzma.
Here.
Chris Mikowski.
Here.
Rick Beckle.
Here.
Jeff April.
Here.
Excused is Doug Roberts, Kendra Luda, and Heyman Todd.
Okay. Thank you. We have a quorum present, so we may proceed into the agenda. Item D. Limited public comment only on the agenda items. Since we are having a public hearing on this proposed project, there is an opportunity for public comment within the public hearing itself. And then again, at the end of our meeting, there is an opportunity for public comment. So if you wish to make a public comment now, please come to the podium. We ask that you identify yourself, address the comment to the agenda items, and since we just have one agenda item, it would be that. Otherwise, if you want to have your comments be more focused on what is taking place within the public hearing or the project, you will have an opportunity to do that within the public hearing. The way the public hearing works is we will open the public hearing. The applicant will have a chance to present, and then we will have an opportunity for public comment, and then we will be discussing and deliberating some of the pieces of information that we have, and then if there are any questions that the commission has for the applicant, we will ask them at that time. There will be a motion to close the public hearing, and once the public hearing is closed, the commission goes into its deliberation based on the materials that are presented, and will either be able to fully approve the application, or there would not be able to approve it because there may be missing elements. We won't know that until we get into the public hearing. So I just wanted to let everyone know kind of how that works. So I will open the first public hearing. I will open the first public comment at 7:03 p.m.
So again, if you want to make public comment on the hearing, I'm sorry, I'm going to just make this clear. It's really better to make your public comment once the public hearing is open. You'll have another opportunity. This is not really the time to make your public comment. It's once the hearing is open, and we haven't opened the hearing yet.
Generally, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The purpose of these limited public comments is to accept comments other than the public hearing.
Yes, thank you,
Well
thank you.
put. Very cool.
Well, I have a letter that my neighbors wanted me to read to you.
Is it,
It's about their opinion about this proposal.
okay, and there'll be a point for that.
Okay, so this is not.
Not yet.
Okay, thank you. So I will close the first public comment period at 7:04 p.m. Item E, agenda modifications and approval. I will need a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or
I would make that.
we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second that.
We have support. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved as presented. Item F, declaration of conflict of interest. If any of the commissioners have a conflict that they need to identify, please do so at this time.
I've made the comment, if I could.
Yes,
I made
go
the
ahead.
comment before that I do service those roads. I maintain some of those roads in Timberley, and I've done that for a number of years. have no connection with this project, but I do some of the service work on those roads
Okay, thank you.
in the area.
In the area.
Not for this project necessarily, just
Okay.
Cottonwood and Timberwoods. Okay?
Mr. Chairman, based
Yes.
on the information, since there's no contractual relationship between this member and the applicant, I don't see any conflict of interest. There's no indication that he's going to get a contract with the applicant for any road maintenance or anything along those lines. So I do not believe a legal conflict of interest exists.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll declare that there is no conflict. Item G, the purpose of the special meeting, GA. It is a public hearing for SPR SUP 2022-06, request by Well Levity LLC regarding property at 0 South Timberley Drive, 10901 and 10800 South Cottonwood Drive, and 0 East Timberwood Drive, parcels 113-014-26, parcel 113-014-16, parcel 113-014-29, and parcel 113-014-51 for a resort. So I will read a statement prior to officially opening the hearing. This public hearing to receive input on the following matter, and I let the record reflect that I just read the public hearing information and the parcels that are in question. The complete title of this matter requiring a public hearing. Excuse me, I was reading parentheses, I'm sorry. This public hearing to receive public input on the following matter has been stated in accordance with the official notice is now open, and that hearing opened at 7:07 p.m. The Elmwood Township Planning Commission would like to make it clear that it is bound by rules and laws and that these will be followed when weighing the case. In order to conduct the hearing within a reasonable amount of time and to keep the subject at hand, you are asked to observe the following rules. The applicant will state their case fully and furnish the commission with pertinent information concerning the property. Township staff input, if any, will then be provided. Those wishing to speak for, against, or about the proposal will be heard. The public is encouraged to state their name and address if they are a resident or property owners or business owner, but are not required to do so in order to speak. Please refrain from repeating what has been said before, and please do not involve personalities. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes enforced by the vice chairperson or the secretary. Be specific as possible. All statements or questions must be directed to the chairperson. Once the public hearing is concluded, the commission will undertake its deliberations and make a decision during the regular meeting. During its deliberations, commission members may ask questions of any person in attendance. Of course, you are not required to answer any questions, but answering could be helpful to the commission. Any such questions and answers do not reopen public comment. The matter may be tabled or continued if more information is needed to make an informed decision. If the zoning ordinance allows the commission to make a decision, then the matter may be approved, denied, or approved with conditions. The decision may be delayed or postponed for cause as determined by the commission members. With that, the applicant is now able to make their presentation.
Good evening. I appreciate you guys meeting for a second time with us on this project. We had the first formal meeting about a month ago. This evening we have the entire development team, including the engineers, traffic study engineers. Some are appearing by Zoom, some are appearing in person. They're available for questions, some will give the presentation. And for starters, my name is Mark McKellar. I'm an attorney at King Rogers in Traverse City, Michigan. I do real real estate development entitlement work. And this project is on behalf of Well Levity. I'm going to give a quick overview on a couple of the items. But as a housekeeping item, I spoke with Sarah Claren this afternoon, who indicated at the time we hadn't had the fire chief's report, nor did we have a full board or closer to a full board. So we asked.
Is the blue light on?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? Okay.
By
Okay.
the coordinates, maybe?
Okay, maybe we'll. Is that better? Okay, I'll get real close, sorry. So, again, I was speaking with Sarah. The township had asked if we wanted to move forward with the public hearing and to what extent, given the circumstances. We just received the fire report as we walked in, but we would like to go forward with the public hearing. It's been noticed, the community's here. It makes sense that they should be given out the opportunity to speak and not be renoticed at a later date or have to come back. However, given the circumstances without the fire report at the time and not the opportunity to present in front of the full board, we would ask that deliberations and findings of fact be postponed until another meeting is set in January to deliberate on the issue. So open the public hearing, review the information, and then deliberate and speak on the findings at another meeting for a decision. So that is what we would like to do, given the circumstances. But we fully are willing to answer any questions after the public comment to add any clarity, either from the board or those they feel that came from the floor that needed to be answered. We want to get that information out there. So, with that said, the project has some extraordinary features related to it.
Mark, can I interrupt? I have one question, and I'd like to get it squared away before we get started. They're gonna come back before the full board, and they're not here, the full board isn't here this evening. They won't be privy to this information or the presence of this information this evening. Is that still gonna work all right?
It will work all right. The other members of the commission who are not present tonight will have to review the tape of this meeting, review all of the documents that were in fact presented, and then when they come back, they will then have the same information that you have. You're hearing it live.
Okay.
They will hear it in a tape. And I would ask the applicant to acknowledge that that procedure would be acceptable.
Oh, that's more than acceptable. Yep.
I just wanted to make sure
Thank you.
going forward, sorry.
Last couple of
Sorry,
years with,
Mark.
no, that's fine. No, I appreciate that, Jeff. Last couple of years of COVID, we've had to do a lot of these bifurcated processes with illnesses. So, the Well Levity project, I think that there's a lot of speculation and conjecture out there about the project, good, bad, and indifferent. We're here tonight to tell the Plan Commission, frankly, the public, really the factual basis for the project and the unique features that are here. I will tell you, in developing development work, I have not come across a developer who actually, frankly, is in tune with what is best for the project area, the environment, the neighborhood, the number of items that they have offered voluntarily above and beyond the minimum requirements for public safety, for maintaining the trees, for low impact engineering is quite extraordinary. It's not required to be, fire suppressed in every fashion. The entire project will be fire suppressed. It's not required to have certain fire apparatus turnarounds in certain areas or stubbed connections. It will have those in excess of what's necessary for the project. There will be fully maintained on-site water. The water utility will not be used. It's going to be fully contained water on the site. It will be served by wells. There will be an NFPA 22 tank that holds water for suppression and for use on the property that will be buried to maintain the needs for the property itself. It's self-sustaining. The same is true with any septic system. This is a treatment system. it also provides the entirety of the project with its own self-sustaining septic service. There's recycling of gray water where feasible and acceptable, and many of the features related to stormwater runoff are in excess of what's needed under the calculations, but more importantly, they're integrated into the landscape rather than separate standalone items. So when the visitors are there, they see only the cosmetic portions of it. They don't see these, extraordinary drainage swales and items like that. It's incorporated into the landscape. They have taken a lot of care. We've been working with the township for quite a while now, have plenty of site visits. We did our presentation initially here. We've been working with Sarah Claren and the staff's, or the township attorney, to address any items related to parking and traffic, including a traffic study that was also volunteered as well. Just topically, the project is a wellness resort geared towards families and children. It's meant to service generations or families as well. There are a mix of areas in which they can stay overnight. Those are going to be some in the resort. There's a few homes that are essentially like a rentable home, and then there's these the cabins. They're a little smaller operation, 2 to 5 people, 6 people in those as well. The service of those residences to be driven by wellness. There's a spa, and there's tons of activities. To integrate these activities into nature, the neighboring properties, the native species. There's been, a great effort to maintain the trees, maintain the natural topography of the property and the development of the property, and to integrate that with the walking trails and the, pavilions for outdoor activities, yoga or crafts programs for children, things like that. There's also, a couple elephants in the room that we probably should address because they're understandable, but I also think there's a lot of misunderstanding on them. The first one I want to address is probably the access along the private road. And I certainly understand the community's concern regarding traffic. That's addressed in the traffic study by TJ, which he'll give a presentation on, about the impacts of traffic. That's just the number of traffic numbers going back and forth in terms of road usage. It does not address the road itself and the condition. That is not something you typically would have in an approval process through a planning commission. You don't have like an assessment of the road quality, whether it's public or private. Those are handled by the road commissioner, MDOT on the public side, and those are private contracts among the owners benefited by or burdened by the easement in which the access is being utilized upon. In this case, we acknowledge that the road has a lot of concern with the public, but it is a private road. We have provided the easement documents providing access to the property, to the township, and that issue is a private issue. It's not for the planning commission to determine whether or not the easement access is the scope of the easement access or the private relationships related to maintenance. What I will tell you is it is in Well-Levity's best interest to have a quality road. It is in Well-Levity's best interest to have the development continue to have good access. It is in Well-Levity's best interest to work with the private individuals on that, in that contract, to meet and discuss how to contribute to that road maintenance and development in the future. Well-Levity has committed to that. We said that in the last meeting that we would do that, and we're going to say it here again. Despite the kind of laissez-faire language in the agreement that doesn't really have great language related to the maintenance obligations, those all have to be in parity. They have to be based on that. The law requires that they be based in parity and usage. And while Levity is not going to sit here and say that they won't commit to carrying their fair share. And so we want to make sure that we got out was understood that that's the case. Anyone that utilizes the road has to pay their fair share, and certainly construction, whether it's residential or for a rural resort, has an impact on the road that's negative. We acknowledge that, and we expect that they'll be allocated appropriately. But that's, again, a private issue with the individuals in the neighborhood under the private road easement. With regard to a couple other items, light and noise, there was some concern about light pollution or noise pollution. With light pollution, the applicant has provided the indication that they will be utilizing the dark sky and down-shielded lighting requirements of the zoning ordinance. If there was any light violation, certainly the township has the right to enforce that through its police powers, through zoning, through the zoning department, or with council, to say that there was a violation of light. Unfortunately, it's impossible to build the facility and have a light study done before there is a actual project approval. What is required is that the applicant show that the lighting is down-shielded, meets the ordinance. Should it violate it, it will be in violation if it's proven, and they would have to remedy that, just like any other project. And that certainly is something that any project, whether it's a residential neighborhood or this, would have to fulfill. The same is with noise. Fugitive noise is really difficult to manage studies on, again, without the entirety of the project being built. What trees are going to be, in place, what buildings are going to be in place, and other situs activities that would be there to absorb noise or redirect noise are also, they're so site-specific. That's why police power ordinances for nuisances exist. We acknowledge that that is going to have noise on it, and it's going to have light. It's whether or not it meets the criterion under the ordinance. It does under the zoning ordinance for approval. If it doesn't in the future seem that way, if there's activity that is noisy, then the neighborhood has the opportunity to bring the matter before the township. Those mechanisms are in place. So we're not going to sit here and say that it's not going to have any impact. We're not going to sit here and say that the road might not be deteriorated as part of the construction. We're saying we acknowledge that, we hear that, but we're going to stand up to that and manage it professionally. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to believe me, but this developer actually really cares. They absolutely want this to be the right project. The minimum impacts to the environment, the intent of how it was set up, why it was designed the way it is extraordinarily in line with the need in their mind to follow the ethos for development that's not impactful in a negative way the best they can. This should be a facility that a lot of people can come see. For anyone that's been up there, that may be one of the top views in all of northern Michigan. And if that's just held by one private property owner or a few private property owners with estate homes up there, it's kind of a shame that the public can't see what's there. It is quite stunning. So that's just kind of a general overview. We want to get out there in front of those issues. We're not going to try to hide from them. We know they exist. We have every intention of doing what's right. We have the development team here. They're going to dive into more of the details. So I didn't mean to turn my shoulder to you guys, but I kind of wanted to address those items to the audience and so they could hear me a little better. So we're here, ready, willing, able to answer any questions. We'll take notes as to their comments. We'll try to, after they've made their public hearing comments, if there's anything we'd like to clarify or you would like us to clarify, we'd be happy to do that. We want to make sure that the record is complete, we're transparent, and we can address the issues that we can. So I appreciate your time. And with that, I'm going to hand this over to Sarah Keever, who's going to give you an overview of the project details. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sarah Keever, Northview 22, agent for the applicant. And yes, I would like to walk you through some of the nuts and bolts of this project. But it's been really clear throughout this process that there has been a lot of attention to detail on everything. And so I'll try to not go too long-winded because of the attention of detail. and keep it brief, but I do want to walk through the project and the different components of it. We've touched on it previously, but we'd like to go into that a little bit more in detail here tonight. And with that, this is, I will be demonstrating on the screen over there and then talking you through this. Well, Litivity is located in Timberlea. Everybody knows where that is. It's a 100-acre parcel, and it's zoned rural resort. It has been zoned that for many years, and it's been zoned that because this area, a part of Timberlea Resort, has been in existence for many, many years. And I know that there are those here tonight that probably know way more about the resort than I do. But we did a deep dive. We took an opportunity to research the history and just to get a feel of what Timberlea Resort is and was. And I really did not realize, I am a local, but I did not realize what an asset and how much activity used to occur at Timberlea. Timberlea consisted of over 200 acres. And we know that it has the ski hill, it was a ski lodge, but it also had a full season, full year restaurant, lounge, it had concerts, it had a lot of activities. It was a destination, people came here. It was quoted in one article, up to 8,000 skiers a day came to this place. And so it was known as this was a resort community, and it was used as such. Even one of my friends, their parents got married here, I believe it was in 1972, and it was the same weekend as a snowmobile slush derby. So a wedding and a snowmobile slush derby all in the same weekend. I mean, what more could you ask for? But there was a lot of activity, and so that was something that stayed in the area. It went through some hard times, and that's why we end up with a very irregular shaped parcel. Due to the hard times and some difficulties with this whole area, it did run into some financial troubles and such, and it ended up being split apart. And so there are some other large parcels in the area, we know, and then this remainder parcel of 100 acres. And so with that, I would like to walk through the 100 acres of this property and just identify different areas. Mark has already touched on some of the operations of this, but I just want to walk through. So I'm going to start at this end here. This is what we call the lodge, and there are several places throughout this campus that have lodging, places to stay. The lodge itself, it does have rooms. It has guest rooms in this wing over here. And then in this area here, it's comprised of several different things. We have a multi-use space, guests to come and attend, whether it be a conference or a meeting, something like that. Right outside in this area here, an outdoor lawn space. Again, a place for people to come and congregate. There is one outdoor pavilion structure to be created on, really it's a knob. It's a place in the terrain which already has this perfect setting for, is going to be a small structure, a pavilion for guests to attend to. In that, there is a restaurant, there is a small retail market, club room, there's even a greenhouse, and assorted outside of here, assorted garden areas for the cultivation, for growing cultivation for produce to be used in the restaurant and also available at the market. So moving along, that's the lodge here. Moving along here, I'm going to jump to this structure over here. This is the kids club. So kids club for guests to be able to take their children. And we want to keep in mind, this has always been, we want to remember that the focus on this has been wellness. And it's something that encompasses a lot. I've learned a lot since beginning this project. And wellness covers a lot of things. It's recreation, it's exercise, it's meditation, it's nutrition, all those different things, all those different aspects. We don't want to forget the children. And so that's an opportunity. The kids club, it's the same thing. For them to participate and take part of those same things that would be held throughout the rest of the campus, but dedicated for children. Moving along here, along this existing ridge here, these are 6, we call single-family residential. They would be available for rent, and those are the place, the 3 to 4 bedroom homes, the place to come congregate, place for people to come from all over the country or locals, whatever it may be, a place for them to come, settle, and partake in the activities here and even the activities around the area. Jumping down here, we touch base on that. There's also, these are more individual style cabins. Again, places smaller than the single family home style, but cabins for residents or visitors to come participate and stay in these. That would be all along this track here. Jumping over here, this is the wellness and spa facility. And it's comprised of just that. We have we have included indoor pools, there's the treatment rooms, there's a small cafe, a place for, very small here, I will zoom in, there's a meditation dome. Again, a high emphasis on the wellness, the ability to come and immerse in nature and the things that would be provided in this area. And throughout here, from here, there's little pavilions that would be accessible by walking trails. And through here, it's a little bit difficult to see. They're a lighter brown. Again, those are walking trails. Those are available for guests, visitors to come and access this property. It's a gorgeous piece of property. It has so much to offer. There's a lot here to work with. And so this is an opportunity to do just that, be able to stay and participate. Just some of the nuts and bolts, we get into a little bit more of the operations. We talked about, we do have we would say the main driveway coming in here. And there's valet and drop off in 2 places up here at the lodge. The one thing to remember about this, and we worked with Sarah Claren on this a lot, is parking. How do we handle parking? And looked at making sure that we have the necessary amount of parking to meet the needs of the program, but again, not to overkill. Like, that's the last thing we want to do is put unnecessary parking, unnecessary paving. And so we worked very closely to putting together what we think will work and what meets the ordinance into dedicated parking lots. But remembering that this is a destination, we hope it will be a destination. It's for those to maybe even arrive at the airport. They would be picked up by shuttle. They would be brought to the property. Maybe there's a daily activity. Shuttles will be provided for those daily activities. Golf carts will be on the property, taking people around. So there's not a lot of expected traffic like we would in maybe a grocery store or a large facility. One would normally expect a lot of traffic. When you say 100-acre development, you think this is going to be immense. We have to remember this is set up differently. And so really focusing that this is going to be a lot of individuals coming maybe by the shuttle, or if they come, they stay here and really participate in the area, in the activities that are on this property. So it does reduce the amount of expected traffic you would normally have. One of the things that came up previously, and I do want to make it clear too on this project, is there's always a question, well, what's the phasing? How is this going to be constructed? I touched base on that last time, but I just want to bring it up again. This is essentially, it's a one-phase project. So as much as construction allows, this project will proceed as one project. So while one building has its foundations going in, the foundation is on maybe the lodge, then the foundation can start on the spa. So essentially, it is one project from start to finish. It isn't going to be the single-family residences coming 6 years from now. It is essentially one phase project. Mark also touched on some of the utilities, and I want to do that as well. There is, pun intended, there is a well on site, and that is what is going to be used for this project as also. We know that there's the township system, water system that is nearby, and it does not have capacity. And there is no intent for this project to tie into that system. This will be independently, 100% independently provided its own on-site water. And so there is no means, there is no way for this to join into that system. We're fully aware of that and have every provision to supply all the water for this project, including all fire suppression from this site. Same goes with the sewer system, all on-site sanitary sewer system for the entire development. That is something that is regulated, permitted, and routinely inspected by EGLE. So there's ongoing maintenance and review of that system. The one thing that has really come over and over, and again, like I said, this has been a great project to be involved with, is that really how little impact this is going to make. And it's easy for me to say that. It's easy to say, oh, this is gonna be low impact, there's not gonna be much. But really, I love this exhibit that we had created in our packets. And I'm just frozen a little bit here, bear with me. This is, I'm gonna zoom out really quickly here, bear with me. The orange represents previously disturbed areas. So like we said, we talked about, this area had a lot of activity back in the day. And with that, a lot of activity, there came clear cutting, there came a lot of disturbance, the ability to operate snowmobiles, the ability to operate ski lodge and ski hills. And so all this area highlighted in the orange, that is area that was disturbed years ago, and it's beautiful. It's, but it is still, it has not been fully restored. This area here, in the blue hatch, if you can see, this area is what is going to be reused. So very little amounts of area that hadn't already been previously disturbed are what's going to be used in this development. And so really, I think this is a great demonstration. This is low impact. And not only is it not going to impact further areas than what were previously, but there's always also a great intent, and we've demonstrated that in very detailed landscape plans, a great opportunity to bring back a lot of the forestation, the flora, the fauna that was gotten rid of over the years. And so the opportunity to not only create low impact, but to restore and preserve what's there, that's what this has been all about. So I think it's a great exhibit. I hope you get a chance to take a look at it and really see. That's really demonstrates what this project's all about. With that, I am going to, TJ Likens is remote, and I'm going to attempt to let him speak. He is with Fishbeck and engineering firm in Michigan. We were going to have him attend until he claims that he was not feeling well. So we do have him joining us remotely. And with that, TJ, would you give us a little bit of an update? He was involved with the traffic analysis that's in your packets and has taken a great look at this area. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. We have a speaker. I think we're going to be able to hear you, TJ, but we'll see.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear?
What's my?
Can the board hear me? Commission?
Say it one more time.
Can the commission hear me?
The commission can. I'm
We-
not sure if the people in the back can.
Sorry, we're just looking for the speaker on that laptop.
I went to law school, I'm not an IT person, I apologize. Try this.
Okay, how about that? A little bit better?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we got it a positive, so go for it. Thanks, TJ.
Okay. Well, if it's any indication of how Georgina and Sarah have treat people in their projects is a reflection on me being at home right now, because I do not feel good. So thank you to them and to you to let me be here virtually and care more about me than the project necessarily. But my ability to be able to talk tonight is with respect to the traffic study, we provided a memorandum that is very in keeping with what we would normally do for any public or private project. Our firm works with municipalities, MDOT, private developers, and one of the first things that we do when a project comes online is try to understand how much traffic that development or that project is going to generate, or how much traffic we're going to shift from one road to another. And in this case, the volume of traffic doesn't trigger concern for off-site impacts. And again, that's one of the first things that we look at was, are we meeting thresholds for, well, we really need to look off-site at some of these other intersections. The local road network that feeds into the arterial network and the collectors, those arterials and collectors have adequate capacity. They have relatively low volumes from an engineering standard, and coupled with the relatively low volume of traffic that this development is expected to generate, we don't see need for concern for evaluating intersections. We did a crash analysis, safety. There's nothing in there that triggers concern where a deeper dive is necessitated. So that's where we're at with traffic analysis at this point. And as others have said, we're happy to answer questions, but it's just not sticking out as something that operationally or safety-wise would present the township with a level of concern that would require additional work.
Thanks, TJ.
Real quick, just to be clear, because I think this is important, TJ and Fishbeck and all the engineers there are the utmost professionals. And we spoke at length today, and TJ, I'm going to put you on the spot, but you do a lot of municipal work, and the analysis you indicated was exactly the same had you been hired by MDOT, the Road Commission, or the Township to provide a traffic report and study. You're bound by the same reporting standards, the same engineering analysis, and the same ethics. And so had you been sought to review this on behalf of the County Road Commission or the Township, would your report have been different?
No, it would not have been, and I have no interest in benefiting Well-Ebony over the safety of the motoring public or anyone else. My reputation and my engineering license rides on every job that I do. So the numbers are the numbers. It's an engineering exercise, and the findings represent that.
Thank you.
With that, I think we are wrapped up our presentation, and we can entertain any questions now, or maybe after there is public comment, if we can answer any questions at that time, we would like to do so.
Okay, before you step down, do the commissioners have any questions for any of the team?
I have a couple.
Okay, proceed.
It's for TJ. In his report, he compares it in the tables and in the conclusions. He compares it to the pre-existing ski resort. And he did the study on the roads, but the thing that he missed is the resort or the ski resort didn't use any of these roads. They used Timberley Drive. So the comparison, I mean, the only thing that went up there was probably the groomer for the hill. So the comparison in the report is, in my opinion, not adequate, because the old resort or the ski resort never used those roads. So, maybe you want to relook at that, or maybe we want to revisit that. But they came in on public roads. They came in on Timberley Drive. Then the other thing that I wanted to bring attention, if we're going to put this stuff on file, the paper done by Tri-Terra should get, the photos in it are all, they say Greenwood Township, and it should reflect the right township. So if we can get that corrected before that goes into the file, I think that would be good.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the commissioners before I open public hearing? Or public comment, excuse me. Okay, thank you. Public comment for this project is now open at 7:46 PM. If you wish to make a public comment, please come to the podium. We ask that you identify yourself, well, although that's not required to do that. It's just nice to know who is speaking with us. So if you wish to make a comment, please come and do that, and I'll ask who would like to.
Well, sorry, I just want to make a quick kind of statement. We did receive written comments. You know, I believe there's 12. The commission was given those prior to the meeting. I mean, if you want to read it, you are certainly welcome to, but those comments, again, were provided to you.
Okay. Noted.
Hello, friends. My name's Sherry Bookbinder, and my friends Leonard and Kristen Algar asked me to read you this letter. And for the board. Leonard and Krista Algar are in complete opposition of the proposed project by Wallaby. This type of access should not be granted through a rural neighborhood that is not designed to handle the traffic it will create. The noise level from the top of the hill ranges far and wide. The disruption it will create for the small, quiet neighborhood that have been established over 50 years is unfair and unjust. Residents have purchased with the intent to maintain the nature and non-commercial wooded area that it was meant to be. The roads were designed for the capacity as it stands. To add to the amount of commercial traffic that would require us to sustain a resort would not be in favor of anyone who uses our private road for walking, biking, vehicular traffic. The original design for the Timberley property was for a single resort, which is already established and preserves and respects the surrounding neighbors in their enjoyment and their individual properties. There was a time when the previous owner, Mike Groves, applied time and again to expand and turn it into a larger resort area. He subsequently was denied approval with significant and justified resistance from the surrounding neighborhoods. If this were to proceed, there are many more studies that would need to be provided to show the impact of the traffic and what the infrastructure environmental impact would be to our water and community. The commercial increase of the proposed traffic would exponentially impact the wellness and safety of our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ansel Bowden. I'm a resident, lives on Timberwoods Drive. One of my concerns is obviously about the potential impact on existing infrastructure, including the paved roads and the existing aquifer where we get our water. I'm sure when they were paved, or I'm not sure when the roads were paved, but it's evident now that they're showing some significant kinds of signs of wear. They were sealed last year, but they're obviously crumbling in lots of places. The development would clearly amplify this wear, though it's pretty difficult to be sure by how much, given the information we have in this proposal. And to be honest, I'm unclear about who exactly is expected to pay for these inevitable repairs once the additional traffic accelerates the deterioration of the roads. If it's gonna be a reasonable, fair cut between us and Willivity, but it seems like it's gonna be an undue burden on the existing property owners. And yeah, I've been told that there have been drought issues in the past with the water in the neighborhood. You say it's gonna be a new well, but I'm just not sure, is that going to affect this existing aquifer or where that well is pulling from? Is it sustainable? What are the ramifications in a future drought event, which seems like we're having more and more of these days? One of my most serious concerns is the impact on vehicular and pedestrian safety. There's a significant amount of pedestrian traffic in the area daily. Both in the morning and evening, I pass pedestrians as I go to and from work. Because there are no sidewalks, pedestrians walk right in the middle of the road. Although residents are used to it, we slow down, we are cautious. There's also a lot of dog owners, people walking their dogs. There are dogs just that run free throughout the neighborhood. Many times I have to stop for dogs that are just standing in the middle of the road. And this is throughout the entire scope of the neighborhood, it happens all over. But my concern is that at some point it's only inevitable that there's gonna be a casualty, whether it's a person or a dog. In this area, there's just a lot of pedestrian traffic, which I feel like has not been fully accounted for in the traffic study that's been done. And that kind of begs the question, how can it proceed without a proper traffic study? I mean, I know that the study has encompassed what the additional impact of the Willivity will cause, but what is it at now? There's no like relative percentage of what the increase is. Is it a 10% increase in traffic? Is it a 20% increase in traffic? Like at what point does it become an issue or more dangerous?
That's 3 minutes.
Okay.
And so 93 cars
Ansel,
an hour, what's that?
That's time,
That's your
the
time.
3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Can I just finish up real quick?
How much more do you have to go? Just,
20 seconds.
okay, I'll
Okay.
extend it.
So, yeah, I guess that's about it. I'll concur with Mr. April that all of this comparison to the previous ski resort seems like a red herring. That was nowhere near the scope and scale of this. The roads in the area are icy, windy, steep. This project doesn't seem like it's been properly assessed by somebody who has traveled those roads in the winter. But yeah, to funnel all this traffic instead of directly from Fouch to the resort and going through a neighborhood that takes 5 minutes to drive through seems, it's only gonna cause problems.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the extension.
My name's Greg Thomas. I live at 11222 South Cottonwood Drive. Just want to thank the Planning Commission for giving us the opportunity to be heard tonight. With regard to the road, impact on the road of the vehicles, trucks, even imagine cement trucks, heavy equipment vehicles going up there in a one-phase project, which would mean it'd be pretty consistent, as I understand, if it's going to be a one-phase project. Has there been a study done on that kind of impact on the road, particularly Timberwoods Drive? We would like to know if there's been a specific engineering study done on that and the impact of the weight of those types of vehicles going up that road. Recently, we had some building going on in the construction of residential homes, and they've been bringing their vehicles up there. Some heavy equipment, tractors, things to that degree. We're already seeing damage done to the road. I've photographed areas where there's damage at the top of Timberwoods Drive at South Cottonwood. Another thing that concerns me the most is the safety of our residents on these roads. To bring it back again to the safety of the roads, there are a lot of people that use those roads, they walk along those roads, and you'll see people out there in the summertime pushing their kids in strollers. And my concern is, particularly with that kind of traffic up there, I was reading through the proposal that there's going to be weddings, receptions, conferences, restaurant, bar, so we know that you're gonna be serving liquor and alcohol at that time. I would like to know if during that engineering study or the road study, if they determined the impact of that on the roads as far as safety goes. So if we're gonna have weddings and people are gonna be departing a wedding after drinking, it's time to close down, the reception's over with, you're gonna have a large influx of vehicles going up and down those roads. You're gonna have conferences during the day where people might be in meetings, they might go have drinks at the bar afterwards. You're gonna have that impact, those people coming down the road. The roads twist, they turn, they get very icy, and they can be very dangerous. So I would be curious to know if there's any kind of a study done with that. Did we get any input from the county sheriff with regards to how these roads are gonna be used, the impact of the vehicles moving along these roads, and particularly the conditions of the drivers or potential conditions of the drivers? It's all things that have to be considered here. So I think that although the proposal, we appreciate you bringing it forward and making us aware of it and what you're trying to do to lessen the impact to the community. However, though, the access certainly should not be going up Timberwoods Drive, most definitely. And just to remind you before I step away, on December 8th at 7:22 p.m. on South Lakeshore Drive in Leland, our close neighbors in Leland County, we had a 43-year-old female who got hit by a driver, and she and her dog were killed walking along the side of the road. And I want you to just think about that happening over here in Elmwood Township. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Doug Ebright. I live at 10091 South Timberley Drive. That's the dirt road behind Timberley. Now that road is a mess. I know, I plowed it in winter when we had 5-foot, 6-foot, 10-foot drifts. So there's also an artesian river that runs across that road. And quite frankly, I'm worried about heavy equipment on that road. If the developer is going to use that road for heavy equipment, I don't want my yard tore up. I don't want my grandchildren endangered. And I want to know what his plans are for runoff, because we get a lot of water down that hill, and that road, I'm sure you're aware of, is a mess at the end with sand and everything else. So what's going to be, addressed to that condition? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tim Wolf. I'm a resident at 7517 East Timberwoods Drive. I submitted written comments before we came in here today. I just want to make sure that you all got them. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to just step through some of the bullet points that I put in here, although some of this has been addressed already from the community or from the others that have spoken already. First of all, bullet points 1, 2, and 3 on my list all have to deal with correct access. I'm unsure about access at this rate. Property has the right to access, if this property has the right to access for a commercial development, which I think this is. And I also have grave concerns about the road maintenance costs, which has already been discussed too. So I don't want to belabor that point at all, but I know that the road maintenance agreement for my parcel only covers a handful of lots in this area, and none of them are the lots that are in question here today. So there's certainly some road maintenance issues that need to be addressed through this area. Secondly, we heard in bullet point 4, we talked about this is going to be a one-phase project. I don't believe this is going to be a one-phase project. I don't see that a lot in the projects that I see out there. Usually stuff like this is multi-phase and takes a while, and ultimately sometimes this stuff goes bankrupt, and then next thing you know, you're left with some homes at the top of the hill and the rest of it doesn't go through. That's a concern for me. To call these cottages, these small one-bedroom homes that have 3 to 4 bedrooms, that have a footprint that's bigger than pretty much every home in this area, is a concern for me. And I hear too that if they come to these places that they're gonna stay. They don't stay. I have a short-term rental by my house. Those people are coming and going all the time. That's more traffic on this road. I have concerns for in bullet point 5 of the construction quality of this road. And to hear the traffic study, it's a relatively low volume of traffic. I wonder what that's a relatively low volume to. Because everything here sounds like a lot Bullet point number 5 or 6, Jeff hit my point there. We're comparing Timber Woods Drive to Timber Lee Drive, which was used for the access for the ski hill prior. My biggest concerns have to do with the changes in traffic patterns in this area. The gentleman that just spoke talked about wedding events coming out at all hours of the night. Our traffic study had to deal with peak hour traffic. This is non-peak hour traffic. People coming and going at night, people coming and going during the day. For a residential neighborhood, this is not the time when you expect to see a lot of traffic. When you have kids riding bikes, you have people walking dogs, they don't expect to see a large volume of traffic during that time of the day. Generally, bullet point 8 and 9 have to do with safety. Safety of the people walking, safety for traffic, and all that. And lastly, in my bullet point 10, I highlight the section of the application, section 9.3, where you, as a planning commission, have to answer several questions. On bullet point A in that, does this project meet the intent of a rural resort? I don't believe so. Got 10 seconds.
If you can finish in 10.
Yeah, bullet point A1, I do not believe that this meets the intent of a rural resort because when I see this, I see short-term rentals and an event center. This is a commercial property. A5, you ask if the proposed development will have a positive impact on the surrounding properties. I do not believe that. With the traffic, that will be a negative impact. In bullet point 8.7, excessive costs to the facilities in the area. I believe that there will be excessive costs, particularly for the road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeff Dorish. I live at 7622 East Elmwood Drive. I agree with everything that's been said. I think the road study is fatally flawed based on that it was from so long ago, 46 years ago. It was based on a different road. They said that they only looked at a Google Earth map of the private roads and saw there was 2 lanes and that was it. They didn't see like how tight those were. There's no sidewalks. That they didn't take into account construction, those really tight turns there. What's going to happen when an 18-wheeler, a really big truck, takes those turns? They're going to go off in the grass and cause erosion and extra damage, not just the road, but it also makes it dangerous. Like, I'm worried enough out there with my wife walking the dog and getting run over, like if that happened. And now, like, there's more traffic now. I feel like a lot of the application was filled with a lot of fluff and misleading things. It was designed to make it look like there wasn't much traffic, but there is. For instance, in Article 8.3, Section 9 says, "Will encourage shuttles, greatly reducing ingress and egress." That's just like wishful thinking. It's saying it, we're going to encourage it, so it definitely will. I mean, how do you know that? Frequent ingress and ingress are limited due to length of time spent by visitors. There's no study on that. They're just saying it. How do we know that's true? If you're in this area, you're going to want to go to beaches, you're going to want to go to Cherry Festival, you're going to want to go wine tasting. Oh, that's what you come to Traverse City for. You don't come here to sit at a resort with one restaurant. I mean, are you going to go to a resort for 7 days and eat the same restaurant three times a day and never leave? There's no way. This isn't Disney World they're making. I mean, it's a big resort for here, for that area, but it's not a big resort where you're going to stay for a long time. Ultimately, this is a commercial property. They're here to make money. They're not here for the community. I see nothing in here that's giving back to the community unless I want to spend, I don't know how much money renting a huge place so I can see the view. It's not going to happen. So, what's going to happen is we're sacrificing a lot to give up so somebody else can make a profit. If this was a different kind of development that was geared towards like locals, I could see it, but we're talking about people flying in from California or wherever. People have a lot of money that can afford this, not me. Also with the utilities, there's nothing to mention with electricity or heat or anything like that. Like what about gas lines? What's the plan for buried lines? If they bury a line, what's the impact of digging up a line and burying it? I don't know if there's enough buried already to serve that area. And then let's see, oh, this has been covered. I'm sorry. With regards to the traffic study, there wasn't anything that said like how much traffic there will be from the construction or how often it will be, how noisy it will be. That's a big concern for me. Or you know, how long it is. 2 years is a long time. There's big trucks going down there every day for 2 years, and I ride my bike to work. So am I gonna have to be
That's
dodging
that's
semis
time.
and stuff? So, all right,
Okay.
well, thank you for your.
Thank you very much, sir.
Would you like my bullet notes?
We have, was your letter dated December 20th?
No, I didn't send it in separately, but.
Oh, yeah, if you give a copy of that to Carrie, we can have that copied and distributed to the other commissioners. Thank you.
Hi there, my name's Chris Thebo, 11235 South Newfie Hills Road. I just want to echo everything that's been said. Those roads, I don't know if you guys have been up there, but it says they're two-lane road, but they're tight and windy. I also have a question about overflow parking that I saw in there. Is that going to be parking for employee parking? And if so, can that be screened or moved closer to the buildings, the resort? And then the ordinance also states that the rural resort must have an outdoor recreation component. Do a few walking paths make that outdoor component? It's just not very clear in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Doug Paul. I live at 11210 South Cottonwood. Most everything I came to say tonight has already been said, so I'll try to limit it to a few more things on my mind. First of all, I will reiterate Jeff a little bit here, but when this was originally made a resort, or zone resort, it was because traffic was going to that existing lodge over there that still remains and is still being serviced with this snow factory. At no time were any of the customers that went to that ski hill traveling these easements. They weren't. In fact, when the ski hill was built, the easements were not even used to build it. They had a separate road running parallel to East Timberwoods back into the woods. And that road development is still there. That is how they traveled back and forth to build the ski hill itself, and for years to maintain the ski hill. They didn't use the easement. Fast forward a number of years, and Cottonwood Association built a portion of a paved road in front of their unit because they had trouble getting up the hill. They paid for that. Fast forward again, when Mike Rose owned it, he had the place wooded out, and that road was destroyed in 3 short months with wood trucks. I'm not sure what all this other traffic's gonna do when they try to build something over a course of 2 years. But we had to, Cottonwood had to pay to have that road done. Fast forward again, 12, 14 years ago, we came in here to the Elmwood Township Board and we set up a special assessment district to have our road built. We tried to get it made to county standards because we wanted a wider, sturdier road. It wasn't gonna happen. This road that we travel on today is no more than 3 inches of asphalt. And it's not built with this solid gravel and foundation that a county road would be built. It deteriorates. We do our best to keep it up. It's all been in the residents of East Timberwoods Drive and Cottonwood Association's responsibility to have it built and maintained. That's the way it's been. I'm glad to hear these guys want to work with the road. That's great, but until now, I haven't heard anything like that. The other thing that I wonder about in terms of traffic is that there's over 45, near as I can figure, 45 lodging places in this. it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that if we get 50-some homes, they're adding 45
that-
units.
That's time.
Thanks.
Thank you, Doug.
Excuse me, I find my notes. Apologize.
Bob, do we have a letter from you?
Yes, you do, but I wanted to talk. I'll just get a copy.
There it is.
Hello, my name is Bob Brick, I'm a local resident and a realtor. I'm an owner of real estate in Elmwood Township for the last 40 years. I have been a realtor in Traverse City for the last 50 years. In the early mid-'70s, I helped market and sell over 1,000 acres in the immediate Timberlea proximity for many of its initial investors. This is a resort that initially was approximately 6,000 acres, owned by a bunch of different individuals. I have also helped market and sell over 2,000 acres in Elmwood Township over the last 50 years. I've grown up skiing in Timberlea, and in 1975 wrote a master's paper on the death of a ski resort, the Timberlea story. I know this property and this resort as well as anyone in this room. There are some facts that weren't represented in there. There used to be an alpine slide out there, and there was a go-kart track out there that did 1,000 visitors a day that accessed the same roads that are being proposed to be accessed today. I'm currently the marketing broker for Steve Brock and a buyer representative for the Well-Levity investors, Georgina Flower and Brendan Healy. When Mr. Brock asked me to help him sell the top of the hill, his hope was that it would be for someone who would once again allow and provide open access to this inspirational and iconic Leelanau County property. For the past year and a half, I've been in search for someone with a vision for this property where people could visit and be inspired by its natural beauty and wonderful views. Believe me when I say we have had those who have had sought to develop this property more densely and or with no access for the neighbors to visit which was once permitted. I believe the Well-Levity Resort is a superior use and a more inclusive plan than any of the other possibilities. I am also here to attest that Georgina Flower and Brendan Healy are outstanding people of great character who have given us a vision for this property that has been thoughtfully conceived and have presented it before you with tremendous breadth of detail and with extensive attention to address every question contemplated in its proposal. This is a use for Timberlea that is deeply rooted in wellness, hence Well-Levity, and with the exposure and focus within its scenic environment to nurture a retreat that fosters a holistic approach to healing the body and the mind surrounded in nature. It will create a place of unique identity in the community and in the township, and one that I predict will become and be considered one of the great experiences for visitors and local residents to enjoy. I strongly support this proposal, and hopefully you give it the blessing your approval that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is
Hillary Rickelman. I live at 11234 Cottonwood Drive. A lot of this proposal is over my head, so I won't get into the nitty-gritty the way some other people did. But some things that really stood out to me is the idea that people would stay on site at this property the whole length of the visit and limit traffic. I don't know if that if that idea is based on comparison to other local resorts like Crystal Mountain or the Grand Traverse Resort, where there's significant on-site attractions like casinos and golf courses and things like that. But based on what we've seen, it doesn't seem like there's enough substance on site to keep people away or on site the length of their stay. I think if it was me personally, I would be drawn by the beaches and the other local things, and I would be back and forth probably every day on that road, which is a significant concern to me. Other than that, I completely agree with the presenters saying that one of the most beautiful views in Leelanau County being limited to one private owner is a real shame. But I think this proposal probably prices out most of the people in this room from ever seeing that view. And I don't think it would elevate the community in the ways that they've stated without the community being able to access all these fun and exciting things that they're saying will happen. So those are my main concerns, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Kazemi, 11206 Cottonwood Drive. I recently just moved here from Chicago, so very familiar with the sound of a loud city, and obviously we moved to northern Michigan for peace and quiet. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and we're right at the bottom of the gravel road, right there at the Cottonwood Association, so it's very narrow. You can just come out, and obviously there are houses being built right across from us right now, so it does get to be very busy. But also a concern that stood out is this is a span of 2 years. What if complications happen? Is this going to be extended? So that is a concern that I was thinking of. Will it be 2 years? Obviously, it can be done, but I don't know. I just wanted to come up and support our neighborhood. So.
Thank you.
Mitchell Blue, 10565 East Cherry Bend Road. So I'm not up there in that area per se, but I'm down here on the Autobahn that everybody rips down. And so I can empathize with the traffic concerns. I think that the project, you know, having grown up here and spent a lot of time probably illegally camping on the hill as a kid, it does have some impeccable views. I applaud the how little impact it has, less than 3%. I think that with making an investment like that on top of the hill, that clearly those that are making that investment are going to do what's in their best interest to have access to the property and to support the road. You know, even though that's not necessarily part of their purview, but you know, you're not going to put that kind of money into it and then not have a nice road leading up to it. And I think that the fact that it is a private road probably provides all the neighbors some additional opportunity to participate in how that just gets formed. You know, I know the trends in roads have been to narrow them and to, you know, add various, changes to them to where it slows traffic. And so I think that, just given what they're trying to accomplish here, I don't really see a similar situation to what I experience on Cherry Bend Road there as people try to hit 100 or something before they hit the brakes on the turn. So I really appreciate the developer, how they've, all the steps that they've taken, including the fire suppression and things of that nature that have gone above and beyond what the minimum is, and in particular the impact that it's going to have on the hill and what that looks like. So I'm in support of it.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Steve Brock. I'm the owner of Timberlea, the top of the hill. I've owned the place for 20 plus years. Jeff, sorry I never met you. I didn't know you did nothing on the roads. I wasn't part of that, I guess. I've tried to maintain my driveway. I put in 2 1,100-gallon holding tanks to retrain the runoff so it wouldn't run down the road. I put $100,000 in that driveway in the last several years. Disheartens me to hear what you say about my driveway, because I've really, really, really tried to be a good neighbor, really, really good neighbor. I support this project. I've been approached over the last 20 years multiple times by people that want to build condos, wineries, breweries, all kinds of stuff, which I have the zoning that would probably support that, because there's, in the neighborhood, there's lots of other people that have the same exact zoning that are doing that. I'm in favor of this project because I think it's something different. I think it's a way to get people to enjoy that view. It is absolutely gorgeous. I've been very selfish to keep it to myself. So I definitely support this plan. And I think the neighborhood, they are concerned about the road, and they should be. But somebody that's going to spend that kind of coin up there is not going to let the road deteriorate. They got to think of the big picture. Thank you.
Thank you. Not seeing anyone coming forward. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I wanted to address some of the concerns that people brought up.
Not at this point. This is just sort of we're just taking information in. Or
I mean, if the applicant wants to address some concerns,
okay.
I don't see an issue with it.
Mr. Chairman, but make sure all of the public have had their opportunity first. I think that's where you are.
Right.
Is trying to make sure that the public is finished with their public comments before you would then give the applicant an opportunity to respond.
Right. That's why, what I technically need to do is close the public comment and then allow you to.
No, the public comment would still be open.
Oh, it'd still be open?
You just want to make sure that the public is finished with its
okay.
comments first.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else out there? This is sort of the going once, going twice. Okay, Mr. McKellar?
Thank you, I appreciate it. As we said before, we want to be as transparent, try to address these issues the best we can. We understand the public hasn't had an opportunity to be intimately involved in the process of developing the project, so, apologize our love for the project and our, we've just been involved in it quite a deep level. It just happens to be brought to the public in the process is 2 meetings. A couple things on traffic study. The traffic study, really, it does speak to some level as to Timberlea Resort and the previous use of the roads, but the traffic study is based on the criterion, and TJ can go into this, we'll have him provide any more analysis, but it talks about the current proposed use in the current roads and the numbers there. I know there's a lot of belief that this may or may not be appropriate, but the fact is, this is a full traffic study, and we're completely confident it would be vetted by anyone else to be the same. Yeah, sure. No, actually, that'd probably be helpful.
Just to speak to that, I see Sarah moving the microphone. Can everyone hear me? Okay. The numbers that are projected in the report are not something that I came up with on my own. Those are all based on data published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. It's a national body that governs a lot of what we do, and they are our primary resource. So I do understand the concerns. I do understand that people may not think that we're projecting traffic accurately, but it's based on a lot of data, on a lot of information that we reference as professionals. It's not something that we're making up. So when we say that this is a relatively low generator of traffic, it is. There are other uses that could be built with more intensity, and that's, I think, why we look back to what the former use was and the level of intensity of traffic that there was there before. Understanding that maybe the access is different, but the capacity of those roadways and the volume of traffic that will be generated by this site is factual based on all of that data that we put in the report.
TJ, thank you. I think that was a lot more clear than I would have made it. I think that addresses some of the issues on traffic study. I just want to clarify. There was an issue raised regarding the size of the cottages being, quite extravagant. I would note that the footprints of those cottages are 1,250 to 1,500 square feet. So I think that is consistent actually with the neighborhood. It is some of those will be a partial walkout and then a first floor that you walk up to. They may, in the aggregate, result in 2,500 square feet or 3,200 square feet or 3,000 square feet. I'm sorry, but the foundation is going to be essentially a single-family home, basement, and some of those have the walkout portion of the basement. So they're actually in line with the neighborhood. We've pulled the assessment records on most of the homes leading up to that, and that's pretty common square footage. They're not short-term rentals. These are for guests to utilize when they have, rather than one or two people in one of the lodge rooms, they have the grandchildren up to visit, and they want to congregate together at one site. We acknowledge the fact that the amenities aren't going to keep everyone there. That's why we live where we live. We just want to make the statement that we have every intention of trying to minimize the impacts when we can. We're not so naive to think that what's being proposed is going to keep everyone busy and not leave the facility. But more important, yes?
Sorry, I'm going to jump in. Sorry.
Yep.
On that note, too, while we have every intention of minimizing those traffic impacts, when I talked about meeting thresholds or red flags that would trigger additional need for study, we were very conservative in our traffic estimates, where we did not assume any discount for internal capture of trips on the site. We looked at every use as an individual use and how much traffic that would generate if it was on its own. Again, conservatively making sure that we weren't missing something. We have taken those things into account. We're not trying to discount just to pass something by the public. That those numbers that are shown in the report are conservative.
Okay, again, the clarity we were better off with him clarifying on. I want to speak to the nature of the use of the property too, because I think it's important. There was a lot of kind of comments about the being priced out of the property. The spa, the cafes, the meditation, the use of the amenities on the property are open for daily use to any public member no different than any other type of resort on its similarly situated. You can go to Crystal Mountain for the day and go to the spa and get a mani-pedi. You can go to the resort and you can have a back massage. That is something that most people aren't priced out of. More importantly, no one is priced out of the free access to the walking trails that are on the property, which is going to be open to the public for no fee. You just come to the property and you can use the trails, utilize the property for such uses. Those are amenities. The view, the most extraordinary view up there, is going to be something you get to walk right out to a looking platform and see. That costs nothing, and that is the intent. These are things that, when we say intent and we say we're going to do this, it becomes baked into the record of approval. Those types of things we are bound by in order to have this thing developed. So although you might think we're just giving you conjecture, when it's approved, if it's approved, those conditions, a lot of those types of conditions are baked into the land use permit, and we have to fulfill those obligations. We don't get to move forward. On the road, it's unfortunate that the road maintenance agreements are kind of piecemeal. It's unfortunate that the litigation that was undertaken in the 70s and 80s to resolve the bank ownership of the property was poorly done in some manner, and it's resulted in quite a quagmire of access and understanding. That is not anyone here's fault. But that easement does provide this property its right to utilize it. It does not restrict it for residential purposes only. The property is still currently zoned resident or rural resort. And this applicant has every intent of being at the table. But it takes everyone in the community to sit at the table to enter into a joint maintenance agreement or understanding. Otherwise, you default to standard provisions under the law regarding proportionality of use. They have said they will sit down. They have said and will maintain that position. I think it is important to recognize that they have every intent to have a nice path there as well for their guests. And I think that one of the comments was related to having a say at the table, unlike a public road. And that's absolutely right. You don't have to build a state Class A highway out of Cherry Bend or any of the secondary roads as they are being done commonly today, even in Leelanau County. You guys have a say, and Wellesley has a say, and they have a spot at the table too, but we don't have to build or expand the road system in a way that is not conducive to the neighborhood feel. But the fact remains, Wellesley has the right to access the land, to utilize the land, and it's a private agreement. I'm going to make a commitment on behalf. They told me we're willing to sit down and discuss that with you, and maybe it's probably long overdue. But at the end of the day, the developer has a vested interest, and yes, capitalistically, has a vested interest in making money, but also to do that has an interest in making sure the amenities and service areas are managed well. No one goes into business to lose money. That's the reality. No one opens a rural resort, no matter what the activity, to lose money. That's what has happened before, and it resulted in a unfortunate use of the land and unfortunate litigation. The phasing, it is a single phase. It'll be continuous rather than a year here or a year and a half, 2 years later. It's a continuous phase. There are mechanisms for performance guarantees in the ordinance, and to work with Township Council to determine what's appropriate to make sure that what is obligated to be built under the land use permit is done, and if it's not, the financial obligations would permit the township to utilize funds to remedy and remediate those things. That's a portion of law that's been enveloped into zoning ordinances, in particular in the last 15 years. We fully expect to be engaged in those types of discussions and meet the obligations of those standards. Often you see it like in solar panels, and what happens after 20 years, you put up a performance guarantee to make sure it gets remediated and removed once the panels have died. That was a lot of litigation revolving that last over a few years. But the other item is gas utilities and electric. almost as powerful as the railroads, we really don't get to have any say on where and how they develop the gas and electric. They're public utilities. We certainly want to have as much underground as possible. These are all regulated activities like any other development in the community. We have, the utilities actually have an obligation to supply services sufficient for the use of the land. And in this case, that would be the gas and electric. To the extent it's available, which it is, they have to supply that power. That will be done in conjunction with them, but they dictate 100% of that process. We fully anticipate that obviously those costs would be borne by our clients. So I just want to kind of address some of those items. We hear you, we understand. We're not here to hide behind anything. We want to address those. So I appreciate the opportunity to respond to the public with some nuanced response. And if the board has any further questions, again, we're all available and ready.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, we've heard from the members here present who wish to address us and did. We received additional comments from the developer's representative. We received written commentary specific to the proposed development. All of this is part of the process. So at this point, if there is no other member of the public wishing to speak, we will close the public comment session at 8:36 p.m. Excuse me. So typically, we're at the point where the Planning Commission would begin its deliberations. We had a request at the beginning from the developer to essentially request a recess in the process so the members of the commission that are absent would have an opportunity to participate in the deliberations. And for those of you that haven't participated in a public hearing before and watched what goes on after the comments are closed, the commissioners will go through a prescribed list of standards to make sure that they have been met. There may be questions for the developer. Sometimes we have questions for one another to make sure that we are all interpreting the standard the way it is intended. So with that, this is not in form of a motion. It's just a kind of a pulse taking of the commissioners that are here. Do you feel as though we should proceed into deliberations, or do you think we should recess to schedule at another specific day, date, and time with the other commissioners here to initiate the deliberations?
I'm okay with the recess to wait for the rest of the planning commission.
I agree.
I think that they have requested that we recess because they want a more sure vote. So I don't know that they have a choice, do we?
Well, you do have a choice, but it would be my recommendation. You had a number of documents placed on your desk tonight, and I'm not sure you've had the opportunity to review and absorb that information. And so to give everyone the deliberation that these documents deserve, I think you need to take the time to review them, to consider them, and then to come back to deliberate in a future date. Otherwise, what are you going to do? What import are you going to give these documents that were recently just put in front of you? So I think that it's important to consider those, have a deliberation at a future date. If you pass a motion for a specific time, date, and place, then you're not required then to send out new notices, okay? Because the notice of the adjourned hearing would be specified in the record.
Okay, so the correct term would be adjournment versus recess?
Yeah, it's an adjournment, yeah.
Okay, okay. Then, before the chair offers that motion, we need to probably look at a date. And that most likely would be in January?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be feasible to have it the same week as our regularly scheduled meeting? Not that day, but a different day.
I'm available that week.
Okay, that would be our next regularly scheduled meeting is January 17th, 2023. With that day not being part of the factor in our new meeting, which one of the remaining days, Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday, would work?
That same week of the 16th?
Yes.
Rick? I'm good for any of the days.
Me as well.
I want to make sure that Brian is here, so I think that's important.
I'm available 16th or the 18th are better days for me. The next week I will be out of town. But on the 16th, Thursday, the 19th, I'd prefer to avoid, since I'm leaving town on Friday, the 20th.
Okay.
Sarah, do we have anything for the ZBA?
The ZBA will have a meeting on the 4th, so it won't
Nothing,
impact.
nothing will go that far. Okay.
January 16th, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can't meet. No, that's a holiday.
King Day is Monday the 16th.
Okay.
Because 18th we certainly will, so we'll be available.
Oh, that is, so that is a holiday.
So what about the 18th?
18th?
Any other meetings scheduled on the 18th?
Not that I'm aware of.
And this is just calendar comparison. This is by no means the finite meeting date. That'll be in the motion.
Assuming that the 18th works, are you still looking at 7 PM?
Yes.
Okay.
The 18th?
That works for me.
Okay. I am proposing that we adjourn the special meeting of December 20th, 2022, and reconvene on January 18th, 2023 at 7 PM at the Elmwood Township Hall.
Would you propose any modifications to that motion, Brian?
I would basically say you're adjourning deliberations in this special use permit process.
Okay, I'll amend my motion to state that we are adjourning the deliberations for this special use permit process, and will reconvene on Wednesday, January 18th, 2023 at 7 PM
So
at
that
the
is a
Elmwood.
motion. Yeah, sorry, that's a motion, but we should also make sure the applicants are able to attend. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I will second that motion.
We have support to the motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned, at,
Well, no,
No,
the
no,
public,
no.
not adjourned.
Not just
The
that
mo- the deliberations has been adjourned.
Thank you. The deliberations are adjourned.
Now you proceed with the balance of your
Yes,
agenda.
thank you. Moving on to item H, discussion on zoning ordinance. We do not have anything before us. Comments from the chair. I would like to thank the public for such a great turnout, and I want to thank you for your respectful comments during the public opportunity, and I appreciate you giving full attention to the applicants as they presented. This says a lot about the character of the citizenry in Elmwood Township, and I just want to pass on my thanks for how well this went this evening. Also, I want to thank the commissioners for looking through a lot of information. We still have a lot of homework ahead of us, so, and with that, I would just like to wish everyone here a very Merry Christmas, good holiday season, and a happy and prosperous new year. And with that, I conclude my comments. Comments from planning commissioners?
I just thank the public for being here. It's good to see people here and making comments. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you. Comments from staff?
Happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you. We are now at the second portion of public comment, and basically this public comment is limited to 2 minutes, and typically you're able to comment on any aspect of zoning in Elmwood Township. You know, we have essentially closed public comment in the public hearing, and we've taken good notes and we have written documentation. I'm not saying that you cannot come up and make a comment specific to that, but I'm just offering you an opportunity to come up and make additional comments if you so wish.
Doug Cole again. I guess this is kind of a statement about the notification system that I'd like the planning commission, or maybe it's the Elmwood Township Board, to consider, and the Well Liberty folks to consider. Given, my understanding from Sarah is that we have to be notified by letter with 300 feet of the property or the project. Given that we share this easement, as you have pointed out numerous times, I would like to see that everybody who resides on these easements are given a written notification, because they are within 300 feet of the utilization of this. So it's just a thought, like to be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I just want to insert a correction in the record. I opened the second public comment at 8:47 p.m. Seeing no one else coming forward, I'll close the second public comment at 8:48 p.m. And we are now at adjournment, and we will need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have support. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:49 p.m. Safe travels home, everyone. Thank you.